and begin the recording of the presentation itself. Thank you all for attending. We've got quite a few folks still joining the session, but appreciate you joining our presentation on solutions to meet CMMC 2.0 assessment requirements, and of course, the current NIST requirements as well. What we're going to cover today, first of all, I'm Tom Leahy. I am the Senior Vice President of Sales and Business Development with SureShield. I've been in the compliance and security arena for about 30 years and appreciate you all being here. I have also joining with me our CTO, Chandi Bilagu, who will help answer any technical questions that folks may have today. And as I mentioned in the chat, those of you who are attending, you will get copies of this, the content of this presentation, as well as copies or at least access to the audio portion of this as well. And while we are primarily focusing, as you know, today on the CMMC requirements, I do want to point out as we get into leveraging technology to help folks like you that are helping service clients, that what SureShield provides from the platform perspective as we go into the presentation, not only will help meet a lot of the needs that you have in servicing clients for CMMC and NIST requirements, but also for a variety of other compliance and security related issues. And we'll touch on that as we go into the presentation. Talk a little bit about the current state and timelines. Certainly for those of you that are C3PAOs and RPOs, there's probably not a lot new that I will present to you, but just, you know, talking about the opportunities that are out there, the roles that you all play in this ecosystem, what some of the servicing challenges can be. As we know, there's going to be a lot of providers, there are a lot of providers that are going to need help, very large ecosystem. And so getting to as many and doing and servicing them in an efficient, effective, and quality manner can be difficult. We'll talk a little bit how leveraging technology can help you in managing your services, and then how our platform, under the auspices of what we call PartnerShield from SureShield, can help assist in that. We'll give you a brief presentation and an overview of the solutions that we have that can help you in that process. We'll take on any questions you have. And then for those of you who are here for the presentation, if you have an interest in actually trialing and testing out the platform, we will take some poll questions and ask you to do that, and then we will set up time to do that as well. So let's go ahead and begin. And thanks again, everyone, for participating in lieu of a short week coming ahead of you as well. So as you all know, in terms of current state and timelines, it still continues to look like this process is moving forward, that the final rule, knock on wood, will hopefully get put in place next early part of next year, and that there's organizations even today that can start going through the process of at least the accreditation process that will be coming, that they're allowing the C3PAOs to begin doing that. And as we know, there's over close to 300,000 providers in this defense industrial base. A smaller portion of those are certainly going to have to be going through at a level 2, which means they're going to need to have, most likely, the majority of those will have to be audited. And of course, they have a great need today with needs and help from folks like you or companies like yours to help get them ready for that process. And not only in anticipation of CMMC, but as we know today, right now, they have to meet the NIST 800-171 compliance requirements. And there is more emphasis as well to make sure that those assessment scores are provided, that the proper POAMs are put in place, and you know, good system security plans are there as well. I did attend one session, town hall, not too long ago, where they were talking about folks that were initially submitting and how they saw very high scores that really were not indicative of their true state of readiness. And as they went back and then did more real review, found that folks were at lesser levels and thus in need of more services. And as we know and understand that once this rule is in place, we should also see that most of the contracts that will be issued are going to have those requirements. So it poses a significant upside opportunity for those of you that are RPOs and C3PAOs, and there will be a greater onslaught of OSCs that are going to be needing help, right? And what are some of those roles that you play in these environments? And I'm bringing both components into place because, as we all know, a C3PAO certainly can still provide services and help an OSC get ready for certification. Just in those cases, they're not allowed to also do the audit of those organizations as well. But as part of the ecosystem, really the roles are helping these OSCs get ready for certification, to help conduct the proper assessments for them prior, and then post to help them be ready to go through that audit, to really look and identify compliance gaps that these organizations may have and help put a plan in place to close those gaps and limit and make sure that they're going to be prepared and get that accreditation that they will be seeking. And also, even today, making sure that they improve and step up their scores, their NIST assessment scores. As I believe, that even today, they're going to put a little bit more scrutiny about making sure that the security posture of the companies that they're working with is better and better. And a lot of the primes are demanding that, as we know, as well. And one of the other components, of course, is to assure proper protection of this controlled, unclassified information. Sometimes that is not even that easy to identify if it hasn't been marked properly, or even if it's been marked, to make sure we know where it exists and how to put the proper protections on that information. So really, in offering those services, and because there will be a significant increase, as you all may be witnessing right now, companies that are coming and seeking, we've even had a lot of folks that have reached out to us directly because they know that this is coming and they need some tools to help make sure that they are in compliance or know where they stand so that they can get ready to be in compliance. So what are some of the challenges of servicing and scaling as you take on new clients? Certainly, you're going to need to have processes, repeatable and efficient tools that can help you conduct whatever required services that may be that you're providing for the ecosystem of clients that you're working with. You want to have, ease in how you can distribute and collaborate and work with the OSCs, whether you're a C3PAO or an RPO, ways to make that process efficient so that they can more rapidly figure out where they stand, where they need to be, and how you're going to help get them there. Certainly having tools that can help you manage all your clients in one environment and the services you provide to them can greatly help in the scaling of your business and offering more services. And the more tools you have that can help automate the compliance and security verification process. We'll touch on this a little bit when we go into how SureShield can help with this in terms of automating some of the compliance controls to a degree, and then also having tools that can assure that you're meeting a number of the control requirements. Having ways to easily show compliance gaps and how to improve those, and to do that in a continuous manner. As you know, this is not going to be a static process. It will be an ongoing process, and having ways in which you can help those that you are providing services see how they are improving and how they continue to improve, or where they need to continue to improve, will be gratefully useful to them and gratefully useful with the service you provide to them. And then tools that will help with good reporting and doing the proper systems, validation processes. So a big opportunity that lies ahead for those of you that are working in this environment. And certainly if you are also an MSP servicing in this area or an MSP alone. We know that the growth of those types of services and the needs that organizations and companies are going to have will continue to grow exponentially. So it's a good business to be in, and really having tools that can help you more quickly and effectively grow will make that much more, profitable for you. So I'm going to take just a very brief poll here to just get a sense, given, what's coming down the pipe. And for those that you are involved in this process right now, really, where do you see kind of how many clients are you looking to bring on, or you plan on managing under your business, and really maybe what kind of percentage of growth you're looking to see for your business over the next year? And I'm going to just launch that poll briefly. I'd ask you to go ahead and respond to that at your leisure while we go into our next part of the presentation and showing, how a company like ours might be able to help you in those processes. And I'm just going to give folks another, I'll leave the poll open just a little bit more briefly, and then we'll go ahead and close that out. And thank you all for responding to this. So how can you leverage technology from SureShield to help in this process? We provide to RPOs, to MSPs, what we call a partner portal. And in that portal, we can help you, particularly as it relates to CMMC and the NIST process, help in that, auditing any CMMC at any maturity level, and to help collaborate with your OSCs and assessors. Very quickly helping identify where those compliance gaps may be, and then, offering up as you would the remediation services that you can help in closing those gaps. We have software that can help identify CUI data in an OSC environment, so you know where it lies and where it sits. And then you have the ability then to actually put proper processes in place to help protect that data. And then we also have solutions and tools that can help you run scans, leveraging technology that can run both what we call a compliance scan and also a more system security vulnerability scanning process that will allow you to see where gaps may be, where you may have, that organization may have problems, where they have security issues, and help you remediate those. Our compliance scanning tool also helps provide a lot of what we would call evidence that is needed behind a particular control. Right, so if you're answering a control as being compliant, you will need to have supporting documentation as to why you have such an answer. And so our compliance scans actually provide a lot of those evidence worksheets and information behind that particular control. And we do that under the auspices of a couple of product offerings we have. One is PartnerShield. That will help you conduct the NIST and CMMC assessments at any maturity level. And I will touch on briefly, PartnerShield can do a lot more than that. But for purposes of our presentation today, that is where it can help in terms of CMMC and NIST-related activities. We have our SureShield solution that can run vulnerability scans for you. If you look at some of the NIST, in particular NIST requirements or controls, there's a couple of these, the 3.11.02 and 03, all relate around making sure that you're running vulnerability scans and doing remediation activities, showing that you're doing that on a regular basis. And our solution not only does that, but it will help meet that compliance requirement as well. And then similarly, as I mentioned, we also have a solution under the auspices of a tool called SureShield DLP, Data Loss Protection, that helps meet a number of the CUI and NIST requirements, but really can help identify CUI data that may exist in an environment, and then help you put, more importantly, controls on how you are going to protect that information or limit the movement of that data. And we actually just had one of our partners recently who ran this in their own environments, and in an environment for one of the customers, and found actually quite a bit of, first of all, CUI data that they didn't know exactly existed, and then even more importantly, what that data was and where it was vulnerable in that environment. It allowed them to put controls on that. So as I mentioned, for those of you that are providers that are servicing multiple clients, we provide our solution set to you under the auspices of a platform called PartnerShield. And you get your own, what I would call customized, white labeled self-service portal that allows you to take customers on, that allows you to activate different services for those customers, and allows you to collaborate, allows you to do all your reporting, and allows you to integrate where necessary. And so under the platform, you have our compliance solutions. As I mentioned, our compliance solutions go well beyond just CMMC and NIST. We have over 31 different, what we would call control frameworks that are there that you can use if you have those needs for other components of your business. We have 3 offerings under what we would call our data security solutions, our vulnerability scanning, our dark web monitoring, and our data loss protection solutions. And then we also have a set of products that help in third-party vendor management, whether that's for, and we call that under the auspices of Integrity Shield. One area in particular this can be useful for with customers that you may be working with, particularly if they're government customers, is in the 889B realm as well. And many of you know that anyone that's dealing with any kind of a federal contract in that regard has to make sure that they're not working with any banned. Today, they're Chinese telecommunication companies, but we can be pretty certain that that will get expanded into others that will be on those ban lists. And we have solutions that can help you with that. So in our portal, our PartnerShield, some of the key benefits and features of the portal are certainly it's white labeled for you. It allows you to manage all clients in one interface. So I'm going to show you how this works, how you can activate clients, how you can turn on services, how you can manage clients, all in a controlled environment, how you can activate any different type of audit that you may want to do, and also have all the information that would be required as a C3PAO or an RPO to have all the information that will be required that will be used when an organization is going through that assessment. We are organizing our platform to make sure that it meets a lot of the requirements that you as a C3O may have when you're gathering information from a prospective OSC. We'll be going through that process. And then, as I mentioned, we have a lot of workflow automation. You can distribute work with our solution, and a lot of what we would call, a lot of reporting and scoring utilities that can be made available to. So with that, I'm going to pause here and just give you a little bit of insight into that portal. So I am signing in under the auspices of an organization we're going to call Acme RPO Services. Now, as I mentioned, our partners all get their own portal, so I'm coming in as, in this case, the Acme RPO. And the first thing I get when I come into this environment is if I have any different types of services that are running, I'll have kind of a task dashboard for various customers that I may be working with. If I have particular tasks that I need to be running or doing for them, it's going to show me that environment. And then again, I can at any point just go and start searching for any of the customers that I may want to work with. So I'm going to start briefly by just showing you from a platform perspective how you can help manage your customers. First of all, you have the ability to co-brand, not only for yourself, but for the customers when you bring them on, so that you can kind of make them tailored to their particular business or service. You can bring a number of your customer documents in place, or documents that you may have that you want to share with your customers. It's very simple to actually manage your customers. So if I go into this manage customer section of the platform, you can see under the auspices of this Acme RPO, I have about 10 clients that I'm working with. Now I can change services with those clients if I want to edit those clients, or if I were to say I wanted to add a new customer. I'm not going to go through, all the components here, but it's as simple as identifying the name of that customer. You can upload things like their logos and likes to tailor make it to their particular organization. You'll assign a default admin. So you do have the ability, to allow your customers access to come in and work with this, or if you choose to just do it on your own, you can disable things like an email notification and be managing all this on your own and sharing the information that you have out of the platform with them. And then it's just as simple as going in and determining what are the modules that you want to turn on for them. So in this case, if I wanted to activate my internal scanning, my perimeter and external scanning, maybe the 889B tool for this client. And then in this case, I would pick the various types of compliance utilities that I want as well. So I might say I'm going to turn on the CMMC version 2 and the NIST 800-171 process. And that's as simple as it is in setting up a client and activating those services for them. We won't save this. So I'm going to come back out, and then I'm going to go back now into really how you can work with this now in terms of with your clients for various types of assessments you may be doing, scanning services you may be providing to them. So I'm going in and I'm picking up this, what we call the customer demo. And I'm going to come to the PartnerShield portion of this first. And in this case, I've only activated it for the NIST 800-171 and the CMMC level 2 controls. So in this dashboard, these tiles kind of give me some insight as to what I'm working with and managing with this client. In this case, this particular client is not just having assessments done, but it's also running vulnerability scans. And so these different tiles represent different components of that. If I were to click into, at the top, I'm going to focus a little bit more on what I would call the compliance controls. I can go into these controls, and you can see on my filters, because I've activated this for NIST and CMMC, it's showing me a total of 110 or 220 controls. Now, one thing I also do want to point out, we're very cognizant of not having work being redone more than once. So we have done a very elaborate component and process of what I would call mapping. So in the mapping, obviously, as we all know, NIST and CMMC really are the same controls. So it's a one-to-one mapping. When you are conducting an assessment or an audit, they only have to do it once, and then we can crosswalk all that data to the appropriate framework it belongs to. We also extend that to other frameworks that we work with. So, for instance, there are controls in NIST that are relevant to HIPAA, or relevant to SOC. And so, depending on what you're doing, we try to make sure that we take out any additional burden. You do it once and have it be applied to whatever the control frameworks are that you're working with. So you can see here, it's really easy for me to filter and look at information that I want to. If I wanted to just take a look at, let's say, the level 1 controls under CMMC, it's as easy as filtering that data, and it will show that, that information to me. And at any given point in time, in terms of answering questions, it's as simple as clicking on that particular link to that question. It will present me with the question. We provide a lot of knowledge and information as to how to work with that particular issue to help guide, not only you, but also the clients on what are the kind of how do you put the best practices in place to make sure that you're compliant with this particular control. And so we provide implementation guidance. I will mention as well, all of our platform come with templated policies that you can use to either edit, update for your particular client, or you can bring your own policies in to the solution as well. And the nice thing is that we map all those controls to the appropriate policies that they belong to. We provide supplemental guidance. And then in what we call our compliance scans, you can run scans that basically look at particular domains and related compliance activities. And we'll provide all of what we would call evidence worksheets to support that in the controls around a particular area. And also then allowing you, if you're needing to put something on a plan of action and milestone report, the ability to update that and have that information available to automate a lot of the processes that are required. So it's as simple as working in that particular fashion. Once I have begun to collect that information, and let me just touch on briefly on the policies quickly. As I mentioned, we provide templated policies. So we do also give you and your clients the opportunity to not only look at their compliance activity from a control perspective, but also from a policy perspective. So you'll note here, for instance, in this case, with this particular customer, we're indicating that this particular policy is non-compliant right now because there is one particular control related to this policy that is non-compliant. If I were to click into this, it would take me directly to that control so I can see what I need to do to fix that and bring that policy fully into compliance. Again, as I mentioned, even in looking at the policies, we provide you a templated set of policies. Now these can easily be overwritten. You can upload your own, you can edit, or you can bring your own into it. But the nice thing is, again, we map this to all of map the controls directly to the policies as well. So it really helps as you're taking on multiple customers who may have need for these services to be able to activate, turn those on, and then be able to view and see any one of your customers in terms of how they're performing at any given time. And I'll give you an idea of how that is done with our reporting solutions. So as I mentioned, we do run, and I'll show you just kind of at a high level how the compliance scanner works as well. But you'll note that if I'm running those, we actually have the evidence worksheets that get compiled for compliance. And if I were to click into this, I could run that report. I'm not going to run it right now because it can be kind of a large report, but to just give you a brief example of what comes out of those types of reports, you can see that they would provide you things like the domain controller information, the FSMO roles, the Active Directory information that might be needed for a particular client. All of those are in these reports, and these are also embedded, as I mentioned, in the related CMMC or NIST related control as well, and having that as supporting backup evidence for you. You can run basic reports on compliance at any given point in time. Unlike some other solutions that are out there, you don't have to have everything completed in order to run reports. So you can get a sense, even if not everything has been answered, where people lie at any particular point in time. So if I were to run this and say, I want to look at my NIST score report on compliance right now, it's as simple as running that report. And please note that in all of our reports, you have the ability to save them. You have the ability to schedule them. If you want them to go out to other people, you can set up a schedule as to when you want, who you want, and when you want those reports to be run. So you can see in the case of this one, it's giving me kind of an overall understanding of where I am as it relates to these different, to the different controls. And then also, it even gives me gaps or kind of a status trend if I'm going through this, how things have changed over time. We also, very importantly, provide all the DFARS reporting documents that are required today to submit to the SPRS. That includes your NIST 800-171 assessment score. We would expect that we will see similar types of scores, I guess, going forward, but you'll see that at any given point in time, it will run that report and show you exactly where you stand from the assessment report requirement. It provides you a plan of action, a milestone report, and we've also automated the whole system security plan. While there are certain components of information in an SSP that aren't necessarily collected in the assessment, we provide tool sets that allow you to bring that information in so you can get a complete SSP ready and to be submitted as well. Right. So this is how a lot of our partners are working with us right now. This is helping them really streamline this whole process for them. I'm going to go into a couple of other tools that we have here useful to you. As I mentioned, we provide what we call the security scanning as well. So in these types of environments, we have a simple scanner that runs out, and you can determine with that scanner what it is you want it to do. Do you want it to do what we would call domain-related scans, or do you want them to do even further greater vulnerability scans? So in this case, this is telling me that with this particular customer, we have 282 assets that have been scanned and identified in that environment. There's over 3,000 services that are running on that, and we've identified over 12,000 vulnerabilities. We leverage a gold standard tool for this, and what this will do is not only tell you what the vulnerabilities are, but it will stratify them based upon risk. It will tell you, and even more importantly, will tell you what needs to be done and how to go about remediating those activities on those vulnerabilities. Again, when you've run those types of reports, you'll have the ability to, once you've run those scans, to look at this information in a lot of different ways, not only helping provide good, what I would call cybersecurity practices for the customers that you're working with, but also meeting compliance requirements. So if I were to run this top remediation report as an example to give me more of a high level overview of what needs to be done, I'm right now running it again. All of our reports, as I mentioned, can be filtered in any way that you like to run them. In this case, I'm going to limit this to a top 20 remediation report. And as I run that, it will then pull up for me and show me within this report, if I were to have applied these top 20 remediations, what impact that would have, what would be the host that those would get run on, and what impact would that have in remediating vulnerabilities. And you can see in this case, if I were to apply those, I'd have to do it on 160 of those hosts, and almost 90% of the risk would be remediated in this process. We also will show you how things change over time, what impact that has as you implement different remediation activities. And then again, of course, we also provide to you what the processes are and what you need to do in order to do those remediations. So again, if you're a provider that helps in that, it's a great way to boost your services to help understand, with your clients, here's the biggest bang of the buck, and here's why, the services I'm providing are going to help get you in a better security posture, and from a compliance standpoint, help you meet your compliance requirements. Now, how do we go about running some of those scans? I'm just going to touch briefly. It's very simple. You basically have a simple utility that needs to be downloaded onto one Windows machine, and then it will spider out into the network and identify all the assets in that environment. And then you have the ability to program and determine what it is you want to run, how often you want to run it, what different environments you want to run it in. So you may have subnets you just want to run those scans. So in the scan configuration setup, you just determine that, and then it runs on autopilot. Meaning, again, you don't have to, there are certain tools out there that you actually cannot run sequentially. You'll have to run it at one point and before you can run it on something else. And so we found that our customers really like the fact that they can just program this, and then really they're working with the data as opposed to running scans. Similarly, in the domain, on scanning the domains, it's as simple as setting that up, going into that, indicating the information that needs to be run. And then when I update and run those scans, that's what leads to a lot of those scans that will provide those evidence worksheets that are applied to those controls. And if you have questions on that, Chandi can help even answer more of those as we get into how all of those components work. Lastly, I'm going to just touch on one other solution, our Hack Shield. As I mentioned, we have our Security Shield DLP. As I mentioned, this is a endpoint solution that's used to go out and identify critical information that may exist in a customer's environment. As it relates to, OSCs, obviously, anything that could be considered CUI is critical information that needs to be identified and properly protected. A critical need and requirement of meeting CMMC requirements. So in this particular customer environment, we have 139 devices that this is run on. It's showing the sensitivity of that data, and then it's showing me where this different sensitive data lies, what type of environments it lies in. This goes beyond just CUI information. Obviously, it can run on PHI, credit card data, a lot of other sensitive information. You determine what it is you want it to run on, and then it will go out in that environment and look for that kind of information. So you can see here in this example, we've identified different CUI or CUI NNPI NOFORN data that is existing in this customer's environment. And it will show you what devices that's on. More importantly, from a management standpoint, you have the ability to then put various types of what I would call control and of movement of that data, to encrypt it, to make sure that it can't be moved, that if someone were trying to send it out, even though you have access to it, if it was pulled or someone tried to send it out to someone they should not be sending it to, it'll automatically encrypt and protect that data and not allow someone to open it up. So really helpful and useful in meeting those particular CUI guidance requirements. So that in general is the SureShield partner portal. There are, as I mentioned, other compliance frameworks that you can activate with this. It's really simple and easy to set up. We've actually turned our partners on. We activate their portals for them in a matter of minutes. And really what we then do is provide all the necessary support, backup to help you get more educated on how to use a platform, how to activate new clients. We provide a lot of tools and solutions and content to help in promoting the need for these types of services. Obviously, it's obvious when it comes to the compliance assessment and audit portions of this, but really justifying why folks should be doing more regular vulnerability scans and the likes. A lot of ways that we can help, and a great way as a provider to provide something of great benefit to your customers, and also allow you to take on more business and more customers with this. So we believe that we found with the providers we work with that the partner portal really allows them to take on more clients, lowers their operating expenses and increases their profitability. It allows you to distribute work and to automate a larger percentage of the compliance control validation processes as well. So with that, I'm going to pause and open it up to questions that you may have. And I'm also going to take one other poll. As I mentioned, we're offering for anyone that's joined the session today, if you are interested in actually testing out this environment, we give you the opportunity to do that before committing. I will want to point out to you as well that in terms of how we structure what we do is very different than a lot of other providers. There is no commitment. There's no customer commitment, meaning you're not required to guarantee us 10 customers. You're not required to use us for a certain period of time. What we found and believe that when the partners that work with us, when they begin to work with us, they find it to be a very valuable solution. They find it to be the customer service, I think, that we provide is second to none. And we know if we're meeting what you need, you'll stay with us. If we're not, we don't want you to, I mean, if it's not meeting what you need, we don't want you to be latched into something that you don't want. So we have no commitments on that end. There's the cost of the various modules we can go through, but they're based upon activating a client. So you do not get charged until you've actually activated a client. The other thing I failed to point out and wanted to mention that within our environment as well, when we provide the ability for you to, first of all, have your own demo environment so that you can demo the solutions. We also provide you a trial process, just like we do for our customers. So you can, if you're enticing or trying to bring someone in, you can let them trial for a period of time, and that's at no cost. We don't charge until once you've activated them as an active customer of yours. So with that, let me go ahead. I know that there's some questions out there, and I haven't looked at them, Chandi. I think you probably have helped answer those, but please direct any questions that you have to the Q&A section. Again, for those of you who have or haven't answered, if you'd be interested in the platform, I see a lot of you are responding yes, and some are indicating maybe later down the road. Keep in mind, we will always keep you up to date on things that are happening with SureShield. But just a note, at the conclusion of the session, you will be getting access to the content as well as the webinar info. And for those of you that have indicated an interest in trialing this out, please note you will receive an email with a link to a calendar that you can set up time for us to activate your trial for you. So please go ahead and do that for us. And with that, I will, and Chandi, is everyone able to see the questions that other folks have posted?
Yes, Tom, it's open to all.
Okay, great. So I see questions around if you already have a scanning solution. Yes, we do have ways in which you can upload those third-party scans into our process. And what we often find is a lot of folks, once they see how our scanning solution works, they find it to be more efficient, more effective, and more integrated. But you're not required to use that. If you want to, you can actually upload and get some of the same types of reports out of it. I see that we've had a number of questions answered. And while we're still here, we can keep it open for a few more minutes if there's other questions that folks have. As I mentioned, for those of you who are interested in getting time set up, we'll go through and we can even share with you what our partner agreements look like. As I mentioned, there's no required guarantee for you on those. And I see, again, we will go ahead and get ready to conclude the session. I will just leave the poll open a bit longer for any of you that would like to answer. Again, there's no commitment even on the trial portion of this. You can trial it for a certain period of time. And what we found is, again, a lot of folks then find that this is very valuable to them in managing the services that they're providing to their customers. So then, as long as there are no other questions, we will go ahead and conclude the session. Please reach out to us if there's anything you need. We thank you all for joining the session today. Wish you a happy Thanksgiving. It's going to be, a busy time. And again, as this continues to roll forward, we know there's going to be more and more OSCs and folks out there that are going to need the services that you're going to be providing. And hopefully we can help benefit and assist you in being able to take on more and more clients for your needs. So with that, thank you. Happy holidays. And we will be in touch with those of you that have indicated, yes, you would like further follow-up. All the best.